Hey guys, Bubba here at the Bubbanews. All in one word, all in one news. How are you guys doing tonight? I'm going to do this one a little bit early. So those of you at the 10 p.m. premiere, welcome. Yeah, we're going to try to get this uploaded a little bit early tonight. But, if we're a few minutes late, so be it. But guys, this one may be a 40-minute video, a 35-minute, because there is so much going on. First, we're going to start off with Canada with inviting Saudi Arabia to the G7 summit coming up. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the two-state solution. And then all eyes are on Iran, as Iran tensions today, well, these Iran tensions, they're definitely heating up. That's for sure. And we're going to get to that because the world is starting to take notice. And it is getting ready to get crazy town and come down to the wire with a bunch of things. But you know what? I wanted to show this verse today. 1 Thessalonians 5:17. I love it because it's so simple. It's one of the shortest verses in the Bible. Pray without ceasing. Pray without ceasing. And I love the verse right before it there in 1 Thessalonians 5:16. Rejoice always. Pray without ceasing. So first we need to rejoice and give thanks for everything that God has done for us and in our lives, and then we need to pray. Pray without ceasing because it's getting crazy town. Man, we're getting so close, guys. It's getting wild, but, all eyes are still on Israel. God's chosen people, of course. But who's getting ready for the June 17th to the 20th meetings in New York City on the Palestinian issue? Well, Mohammed bin Salman certainly is. But first, he's going to make a visit to the G Summit, the G7 summit there in Canada, and make his presence known. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has formally extended an invitation to Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to attend the G7 summit next week. Leaders from the world's largest economies are set to gather in skis. I always get that word messed up. And for those of you in Alberta, Canada, forgive me. Skis. Anywho, but anyway, there's 3 days of talks. They're going to begin on Sunday, June 15th. Guys, this weekend's going to be nuts. We got the Peace Paris Forum on June 13th. We got Trump's big shindig, and then all the protests on June 14th. And then Trump is going up there to the G7 summit in Alberta for 3 days there, from June 15 Sunday through Tuesday, June 17th. But, this invitation to Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi Arabia, they're not part of the G7. I mean, they expect at this G7 summit to affirm Saudi Arabia as being the key global player with a constructive role in a world plagued by turmoil and security fragility. The G7 meeting will focus on international peace and security, global economic stability and growth, and the digital transition. The entire world going to the digital ID, the digital money, no more paper money. Everything's going to be digits. But, this is coming up. I mean, you got France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom, the United States of America, the European Union, and +1. So that equals 7 + 1. Saudi Arabia. Even though it's not here yet, a colleague pointed this out to me earlier today in Revelation 13, verse 1. And I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. I mean, needless to say, more and more people are watching to see what MBS brings to the table on the global stage. Mohammed bin Salman. Canada is celebrating the 50th anniversary of the first G7 summit. And Canada is proud to take up the 2025 G7 presidency. This year will be an opportunity for Canada to demonstrate our leadership and advance meaningful dialogue, collective action, and innovative solutions for the purpose and the benefit of all peoples. We're going to start hearing more and more about all peoples, I believe, in the news coming up soon. But here's something else that's crazy town. Because we have that June 17th through 20th, which is next Tuesday through Friday, the Palestine and issue there with the state of Israel and the two-state solution being held in New York City by Emmanuel Macron of France and Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia. So that's happening June 17 to 20. Well, right after that, Mike Johnson is expected to visit Israel right after these meetings, these UN meetings, 17th through the 20th of June. He's going on June 22nd, on Sunday, June 22nd. He's going to address the Israeli Knesset. This is unreal. What's interesting is that this is right after the two-state solution roadmap. And it's going to get published from the June 17th through the 20th event, dealing with making Palestine an official state to live side by side with Israel. The Speaker Mike Johnson is all for the third temple to be built in Jerusalem. And we don't have a good source yet, but we can definitely see Mike Johnson even probably visiting the Temple Mount as being a big part of this trip. Because Mike Johnson will know all about this Saudi deal that they're working on. And he would know all about the plan at hand. And the UN conference, June 17th through 20th next week, will no doubt look like a bash on Israel. But then here comes pro-Israel speaker Mike Johnson to the rescue to help smooth things over, to help convince Israel that everything's going to be A-okay. These are wild times unfolding, you guys. This is nuts. All right, so here's what the whole thing started off with this afternoon, with everything going down with the Iran talk, with the Iran tensions today just being nuts, because this came out, but the U.S. Navy was reportedly placed its base in Bahrain on high alert. Something brewing in the Gulf. So here's what happened. They ended up, the U.S. Embassy in Iraq was preparing for ordered evacuations due to heightened security risk in the region. This isn't just a coincidence. Just in the nick of time, when the UN is about to vote for a two-state solution next week, Israel needs a distraction. The U.S. Embassy in Iraq is being evacuated, and the U.S. Navy base in Bahrain is also now on high alert, all under security protocols. Meanwhile, the United States was reaching out to Pakistan as a counter-terror partner against Iran. Something is clearly being planned, and Iran looks like the target. I mean, these developments come today after Trump said that he is less confident about negotiations with Iran over the Iranian nuclear ambitions. And if you ask me, it will happen. But what we are seeing right now is the United States trying to exert maximum pressure on Iran. And the next news will be that all U.S. bases and Navy in the Middle East region will go on maximum readiness, and they now have. Fast forward. Eventually, the U.S., but they're taking precautions to signal to Iran what they're getting ready to do. Mimicking the "we are about to strike you" kind of a scenario, so that Iran thinks twice about making too many demands during the next round of negotiations in Oman, scheduled for Sunday, between the United States and Iran on the nuclear talks. But now, there's a very high probability chance that those nuclear talks will not happen. Israel's going to need the element of surprise when striking Iran's nuclear infrastructure, and under no circumstances would the USA spoil that by announcing their plans publicly. I mean, everything was starting to come out today. This is what they're talking about. Tehran will strike U.S. bases in the region if the nuclear talks fail and conflict arises with Washington, D.C. But on top of all this stuff, here's what went down today, and it's actually kind of interesting because the UK Maritime Trade issued a very rare warning about rising tensions in the Gulf of, not the Gulf of Mexico, the Persian Gulf there. This is what the UK put out earlier today, talking about how this rising tensions in the Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz, the Gulf of Oman. Citing a potential military escalation that could directly affect shipping. Because the U.S. Embassy in Iraq is preparing for an ordered evacuation due to the security threats. The State Department is pulling non-essential staff and families from Bahrain and Kuwait. U.S. military dependents in Bahrain have been cleared for temporary departure, and none of these moves came from Fleet Forces Command. In other words, this didn't come from SITCOM. This all came literally from the top. Probably the White House. Probably Trump. His people. Something big is starting to go down. So that's why everybody's starting to talk about all this stuff. But in my opinion, the attack on Iran is still about 10 days away, right after the June 17th through the 20th conference on Israel and Palestine. But it could happen during those meetings, the 17th through the 20th. It could even begin as soon as the 15th, Sunday, because Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman will be out of the region. But the June 21st to the 27th period could be the Iran attack scenario unfolding after these meetings on June 17th through 20th. And if that's the case, then Mike Johnson won't be going to Israel on Sunday, the 22nd. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. But then this came out where the United States is slamming the UN conference that's going to take place in New York City. So basically what Trump's doing, and I had some buddies ask me about this, what does this mean? Well, Trump is basically doing his part to be the good cop, as Israel is watching Trump and what his words are. The Trump administration today was urging governments worldwide to skip this upcoming UN conference in New York City, June 17th to the 20th, which is focused on a Palestinian two-state solution, with Israel. The message that came out June 10th is warning countries against taking actions deemed anti-Israel. Following the event could be seen as opposing U.S. foreign policy and may even face diplomatic repercussions. So the U.S. is warning these countries not to do it. It also states that the U.S. would firmly resist any unilateral moves to recognize a hypothetical Palestinian state, at least not yet. Washington argues that this conference will achieve nothing meaningful and could undermine Israel's security. But with Trump telling world governments not to do something, this could be like telling your kid not to get into the cookie jar. You know what I mean? They're going to want to disobey Trump just all the more. So, of course, they're all going to show up at this UN meeting. Because this is talking about the two-state solution. And they don't care what Israel thinks right now. They don't care what the United States thinks right now. They want a two-state solution. They want to bring peace and security to the Middle East, where Palestine can have its own plot of land and whatever with Israel is basically what the world is saying. So we got to keep an eye on all that crazy town. But earlier today, Iran's defense minister, he threatened to attack U.S. military bases throughout the Middle East. He said that this is a very strong possibility if tensions continue to escalate in the region or if the nuclear talks collapse between Tehran and Washington soon. But that being said, Iran makes these threats quite regularly. But the U.S. is starting to do all these evacuations and announcing it today, too. I mean, I doubt the U.S. is doing all these evacuations in response to just these comments alone. So there's either intelligence indicating an imminent Iranian provocation, like True Promise 3 being launched on Israel soon, or this is preparatory work being done for the upcoming strike on Iran's nuclear program. And we're going to get back to these key nuclear sites for the attack coming up in Iran, but I'm going to segue to these protests real quick because we've got to keep an eye on everything. Because this would be Trump's worst nightmare if we mixed in with the chaos that's currently unfolding. And you see the Palestinian flag in the middle there and the flag of Mexico to the right. But if they mix in the chaos in these U.S. cities, and if they intersectionally merge these rioters over immigration, Hamas, there's going to be anarchists in the crowd. But if they start merging them with Iranian or even other Islamic sleeper cells here in America that have been laying dormant for almost 40 years, some of them, they could explode into action literally as tensions continue to grow in the Middle East. And if we start hitting Iran, watch the false flags start hitting this weekend if we start doing this weekend. But I don't know if we're going to kick it off just yet in the next few days or so. We'll see. I did see some reports that they're doing some cyber attacks tonight. I'm not seeing it being put out by the main open source intelligence people tonight, but it's possible. I wouldn't doubt it. But that's coming as well. But you know what? The United States officials tonight said that there's a very high probability that the 6th round of nuclear talks between Iran and the United States will not take place this weekend at all. A state of maximum alert has been declared in all the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and army bases across Iran tonight. So when a nation pulls the maximum alerts card out, like Iran is tonight, it's never a casual flex of their military might. This kind of move usually spells heightened tensions regionally or there internally. But in today's global chess game, posturing is less about immediate war taking place, just not yet. for Iran or Israel. It's more about signaling their strength. You know what I mean? Kind of like a peacock strutting their stuff. Like, here I am, trying to deter their enemies or shoring up internal control and support inside Iran. But still, we can't ignore the shadow that this casts on regional stability, especially in a region that has enough fireworks already. I mean, the real question is whether these alerts are going to trigger dialogue to take place, and even if they're going to have these nuclear talks, or if this is just going to feed the cycle of suspicion. But apparently the keep calm and carry on motto just took a vacation in Tehran. We're going to talk about this, but here's the smoking gun. We'll probably have to come back to this map because it's a good one, but check it out. We've got Iraq there, the heavy water. You've got Fordo. You've got the Natanz, and you've got Isfahan. It's not showing Bushehr, but we'll show that. But these are 5 things that we're going to talk about tonight. But here's the smoking gun that came out this evening after the markets closed for the sudden military awareness across the entirety of the Middle East. U.S. Senator Tom Cotton said that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth here confirmed today that Iran is actively working toward a nuclear weapon. So this is the first official announcement by the United States that Iran is actively working towards a nuclear weapon. This changes everything. I mean, Trump might be finally realizing the threat, and he could soon give Israel the green light to do what's necessary. And we're going to start seeing the rhetoric to pour in more and more in the next few days. This is from the IRGC news agency today. The negotiator. When ready, when necessary. But they're getting ready. And I have a feeling this might be one of their newer designs. I'm looking at the bottom of that rocket there. Oh, this could get quite interesting. But here, I want to talk about when the U.S. and Israel strikes Iran, what the main targets are going to be. And these mentioned here in this map below are literally in Elam territory. I mean, this is like prophetic perfection, like only God can do. We're going to talk about Natanz there, just below Tehran. We've got Fordo. We've got Isfahan, just south of Natanz. We've got Arak, there to the left. And down at the bottom there, we've got the Bushehr nuclear power plant. Well, Natanz at the top is the largest enrichment site, and it's partially underground. Fordo is deep underneath a mountain. It's hard to destroy. Isfahan converts uranium into gas. Arak is potential plutonium sources. And Bushehr at the bottom, that's a civilian plant. It's a very risky target. So striking Arak there on the far left and Bushehr down below that on the bottom could bring about the global dispersion from the humanitarian crisis that unfolds that we read about in Jeremiah 49 verses 36 to 37. Where not one nation on the earth is not going to not have an outcast from Elam. It's going to be a humanitarian crisis. I mean, Natanz is Iran's largest enrichment facility. All these areas here that I just mentioned, from Natanz to Arak to Isfahan to Bushehr, all that down is all in the Zagros Mountains. It's all part of Elam. But the Natanz one, it's key for bomb development. It enriches uranium using thousands of centrifuges up to the 60% purity. But Fordo, they're Iran's most fortified site. It's a high-security site built underneath a mountain. And it can quickly produce 90% bomb-grade uranium. And the concern is that even the bunker busters might not fully destroy it. Isfahan down there is where the uranium gets ready for the enrichment. And it's a prime target because destroying it halts the enrichment going on. So Iran can't enrich anymore after that. The two I'm watching are the ones on the left and the Bushehr on the bottom. The Arak there, that's Iran's plutonium pathway. It's a heavy water reactor. It's a potential plutonium source. Iran disabled it under the 2015 deal, but it could restart it. And bombing it right now risks radiation contamination. Bushehr, the one at the bottom, Iran's civilian nuclear plant. It's built for electricity. And see it there at the bottom, Jer, just above the little major facilities, little map dealio. But it's not linked to weapons, but it could be risky to attack because striking it, Bushehr, it risks a nuclear disaster with all of that radiation moving across the Arabian Gulf or the Persian Gulf into the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, that could get really squirrely really fast, really ugly. So we're going to keep up on that, but wow. Oh no, we've still got about 10 more minutes. Okay, sorry guys, I'm just trying to keep up with everything going on. But with everything going on with Iran, they're going to need a distraction. And tonight is June 11th, and now it's the 12th, of course. But the vote on the bill to dissolve the Knesset was postponed tonight. So this first came out, what time is this? This was at 7:30, so about 2 hours ago. This came out and said that the vote was going to be pulled at the last minute, but it looks like they were going to try to postpone it by a week. So, because they wanted to give the parties time in case they do attack Iran tonight or this week or the next few days, they want to be prepared as a society to stay together. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that one. And I do have an update, and we're going to go to that in a second, but it says that Netanyahu is nervous and succeeded in foiling the vote on the law to dissolve the Knesset. So the opposition's motion to disband the Knesset was rejected by a vote of 53 to 61. So they are not going to dissolve the Knesset just yet. This is going to bring all kinds of disasters to Israel, however. Either way, what happened, because if they ended up voting on the Knesset, they would have to vote a new prime minister in. And Netanyahu would be out on his ears by October. But now that they're not going to dissolve the Knesset, the next time they can vote to do this is in December. But in the meantime, Israel can fall apart internally as the opposition groups and the parties within the Knesset start eating each other like piranhas. It's going to get ugly, and they're going to need some new leader to step up. All right, let's keep going. But Israel striking Iran is not a question of if anymore, but rather a question of when. Because right now the Israeli side has two options, and both are going to lead to a regional war. Option one is that the Israelis do not strike. In a situation where the Iranians can keep their nuclear facilities with some kind of a deal, it would mean that Iranian influence will skyrocket in a short period of time and will allow Iran to potentially make nuclear weapons, assuming they don't already have them. But this is going to exert power on neighboring countries, which eventually will lead to a clash between the second influencer in the region, which is Israel, which means regional war. Option number two, the Israelis do strike the Iranian sites. But when the Israelis strike Iranian sites, it needs to be so big so that Iran will have a hard time recovering from it. Because an Iranian retaliation, once they're attacked by Israel, is also imminent. So this would technically mean that Israel has to carry out one of the largest air campaigns in modern history, if not the largest. And such an attack will be so devastating that it will definitely lead to regional war. So we have to keep an eye on that because this is starting to get crazy town. I don't know about you guys, but a total disaster is awaiting with seeing this stuff going on between the Psalm 83 war. Still going to kick off, I believe. Isaiah 17 all day long with Damascus. Jeremiah 49 with Elam. Oh, that's still coming. But now with Iraq stepping up tonight, and their guys are warning, they're their largest proxy of Iran in Iraq, the Popular Mobilization Forces and others, they're talking about they're going to open up fire on all Americans in the region and all of the Americans throughout Iraq if the United States and or Israel attacks Iran. Oh, boy. So, yeah, this is still going on. I just checked it, but it looks like they're getting ready to come to an understanding regarding military conscription because this has everything to do with the military conscription of the Haredi there in Israel. It's unlikely the vote's going to dissolve the Knesset, and it didn't pass tonight. So But a total disaster awaits within Israel because they're literally going to start fighting each other. And that's where it's not going to be good at all. And this could even be possibly why Israel ends up getting attacked in the future, because when the nations come against Israel, check it out. Let's even go there real quick on the backup phone. Let's do the Zechariah 12 verse 2, because it tells us what's going to happen when this stuff starts kicking off. Because when Israel starts hitting Iran, I have a feeling some of these other prophecies are going to start coming into play. Because this one, behold, I'm going to make Jerusalem a cup that causes reeling to all the peoples round about. The Hebrew wording sabib, all of Israel's neighbors. When the siege is against Jerusalem, it will also be against Judah. So something is coming up still where Israel's going to be attacked. And it could be that they're being attacked by the West Bank. And something could be snapping off. I don't know what all's coming up. But you know what? I've heard so many people that are just... Today, they're even texting me and they just feel a sense of uneasiness. I get it, guys. I totally get it. These are really weird times. And it feels like war's getting ready to kick off like yesterday. But these things come in waves. And whether this is actually it and it's actually going to start snowballing and going forward, I'll have to keep an eye on that. Otherwise, it's still all coming into place. And these wars still could be held off. I mean, while these guys are trying to do their stuff with the Knesset and dissolving it, it could still hold off for a while. I don't know. I'd like to know your comments, what you guys think below, but I still have a feeling that this is going to hold off for another 7 to 10 days. And the reason I say that is just because of these big UN meetings that are coming up. But something we don't know. I mean, that's the thing. Something could literally snap off here in the next few hours, next few days. Because once they see something that they don't like, and Israel points this out to Big Daddy Trump and says, hey, your satellites see what our satellites are seeing? And Trump's going to have to look and be like, oh boy, here we go. So if Iran's getting ready for True Promise 3 and to launch an attack on Israel, we might see some notice to air marshals coming out, or notice to air missions coming out in a few hours, few days. The NOTAMs there in Iran showing that flight patterns are going to be blocked off. Remember last time when Iran made their launch on Israel? That day in the morning, it was morning our time, but it was towards afternoon Israel's time, all these warnings were coming out, and the planes were being grounded, and planes quit flying over Syria. They quit flying over Jordan. They quit flying over Iraq. They quit flying over Iran. I believe we'll see something like that before something kicks off. But on the flip side, Iran could try to pull the first punch, because it's up to Iran now, because Iran still believes that they still owe Israel one more punch because of Israel attacking them back in October of 2024. So whatever's coming, this is going to be a knockout, drag-out, nasty, crazy town fight. But the Iran tensions today are going to boil up into the Iran tensions of tomorrow going forward, guys. But let's end it out now. Let's keep it close to 30 minutes. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are such an awesome group of friends. And I just want to say thank you, because I do call you my friends. But you know what? Jesus Christ is coming so very soon. And these prophecies are getting ready to kick off. And if you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ today, it's time to get ready with him now. Talk to the Lord. Get right with him. Cry out to God right now. Seriously. Just talk to him. He's right there. Behold, I stand at the door and knocks. He's right there. He's knocking. He's knocking at your heart's door. Let him in, guys. I promise you, you will never regret it. You will be eternally grateful. Thank you so much, Jesus, for everything you've done. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. And Maranatha, Jesus Christ is coming so very, very soon.